I tried beating Terraria as a vampire? Yes, a vampire. This class introduces tons of brand new life-stealing knives from the very start of the game all the way to post-Moon Lord. I started off by opening my menu and checking out exactly what the mod had to offer. Upon opening the weapons menu, I saw the massive amalgamation of all the various different knives. I mean, there was everything here from Excalibur knives to Knight's Edge knives to Terra knives to post-Moon Lord tentacles. Is that henty? Anyways, what I realized is that we can craft our very first knives as soon as we get some copper, or quite literally any type of ore. So I started chopping down trees. I also spawned a corruption biome, which was kind of cringe, if I do say so myself, because then my NPCs can't really spawn in. But that's okay, because I have a quality of life mod that makes my NPCs spawn in the evil biome. How epic is that? Anyways, I opened up my treasure bag, and I know some of you are gonna say, oh my god, your treasure bag gives you like golden, like shut. Bro, I don't want to play through the beginning of the game. That thing takes forever, so calm down, bro. After this, I started traveling over to the left side of the world. I thought by some chance we could take down some cactuses and make something along the lines of a cactus knife, but that wasn't really a choice. Also, along with this, I realized that there are actual knives that you can craft from a very special knife station that we're gonna also have to build. It's kind of like the workbench of this vampire knife mod. And this also required a bunch of different materials, so it was kind of a pain in the butt to get, but I did manage to get it. And I did build it. Anyways, while exploring the desert, I found myself a magic carpet. That was pretty neat. Now I feel like Aladdin and I can soar through the skies with my little trusty carpet. I defeated all the mobs that were in the desert, and then I went over to the jungle. After this, I came all the way back to spawn and then ventured over to the right side of the world. I found this mini cave, and just in case you guys don't know, there's actually always a pretty big cave near spawn, either very close to the left side of the world or to the right. So if you're ever looking for resources, that is your go-to place. I opened up a little chest, got myself all the starting materials that I kind of needed, to be honest, and then I started digging straight down. I got myself some life crystals, got myself some ore such as gold and iron, which is gonna come in useful as I need them to craft the knife station as well as all the various different knives. As I came back to spawn, I made myself a tiny little house and got completely bombarded by all of the crimson enemies, which was very horrific. I did not like that, and it did hurt my soul a little bit. By the way, just to tell you, I don't think I said this in the intro, but this mod also adds a bunch of knife accessories, so that's also pretty neat, as we can like pick and choose what accessories we want to use to make our character, to make our little vampiric character even more powerful. I started digging a little hole down because I realized that, hey, like we're probably not gonna be able to craft anything with a mob attacking me every 3 seconds. So yeah, I started working on a elevator and then realized that I ran into crimtane blocks. For basically the entire night, I was just literally defeating mobs until I could finally get some peace and alone time to craft myself the knife workbench. The knife workbench was essentially, as I previously said, the crafting pillar, the station of all of the knife recipes that we're gonna need. So only having gold, I crafted myself gold knives and crafted myself a bunch of throwing knives. Now what these throwing knives do is they act as ammo for the pre-hard mode knives that we have. So for example, we have the nimble gold knives, and as I throw them out, what comes out are not gold knives, but the knives that are in my ammo slot within my inventory. I thought that this was going to continue through the rest of the game, but as you will come to find very soon, this does not continue, and you kind of don't need any of the knives in hard mode. So developer, I don't know, think about that, because I mean, it was a little bit useless, I'm not gonna lie. Anyways, I went mining, got myself a bunch of crimtane ore, and once I had enough, I actually crafted myself the crimtane knives, which were very, very powerful for the stage of the game that we are at. Thank God for that golden pickaxe, as without it, I probably would have had to defeat the Eye of Cthulhu at least to craft these knives. Now the thing is, these aren't very powerful, as only like 1 out of 10 throws you might get some lifesteal. Now this does become better as the game goes on, but to be frank, the knives right now are very not good. Like I think a musket would be better than the knives. Anyways, using bombs, I continued my elevator because I cannot mine through the crimson blocks with my golden pickaxe, and then I managed to craft myself a weapon called the chain knives. This was like a chain knife, but it threw out like a million of them, and it was probably like the most powerful thing that we had access to by this point. The crafting recipe was very easy, but for some reason it was very powerful. I think it did like 50 damage and it shot out like 5 knives, so I don't know how this is in this part of the game, but look, I have access to it. If I want to cheese the game, bro, I'm gonna cheese it. Like you guys already know me, so of course that's what I did. And then I just started browsing through all the different crafting recipes. I found like this other knife altar station that we can only get post Plantera, I think it is, because we actually need the vampire knives as a crafting recipe. I went back to mine again and I continued my elevator using my bombs, got myself a bunch more ores, and along with this, a plethora of life crystals, putting us up to nearly 3/4 of full HP. Not there, but nearly. Another thing that I noticed with the crimson knives is they have an extremely high velocity, so sometimes it doesn't really register that you end up hitting an enemy. So I ended up using the golden knives and the chain knives as they were just better because I could actually hit the enemies enemies, even though the Crimson Knives did more damage. Once I came back to the surface, I was fighting King Slime, and that was the first boss that we managed to take out. It was surprisingly easy, but I did nearly die because I had absolutely no armor. Pro tip, use armor when you're going to fight a boss. Upon defeating King Slime, I wanted to see what I can craft using his drops, and unsurprisingly, I can craft nothing. What a bummer. Right? But that is not horrific, as I went over to the jungle because I realized that you can craft the blade of grass version of the knives, and all I needed was stingers and jungle spores, so it wasn't really that bad, right? It was kind of bad. I'm not gonna lie, I died in the jungle. I'm just not prepared. I need better armor, but I did get some cool items out of the chests, such as the Eye of Cthulhu summon, meaning we can now progress to the Eye of Cthulhu. Anyways, I went over to a Crimson Altar, made an infinite summon for the Eye of Cthulhu because of the infinite boss summons mod. You should totally get that and play with it. And then since it was nighttime, I summoned in the eye and started taking it out with the gold knives and the chain knives. I completely managed to finish it off using the chain knives, and very soon after this, I moved on straight to the Eater of Worlds. You know, thinking that this boss is going to be fairly easy, and I have half a set of ninja armor, I thought this would be a piece of cake, especially with my chain knives that deal a horrendous amount of damage. Being so used to fighting the Eater of Worlds because I never need the vampire knives, I have remembered that I set this world to corruption, meaning that the Brain of Cthulhu was going to spawn. I got trapped a little bit and then nearly died, but once I got out of my little hole, I managed to take out the Brain of Cthulhu and actually dropped a brand new item called the Unstable Crimson Crystal, which will come in handy for monstrous knife crafting recipes later within the playthrough, but for now it is practically useless. Anyways, I gathered all of my material, traveled my way back to spawn, made myself a Crimson Altar so I can craft cooler things right at spawn, and then dug out a elevator with the Deathbringer pickaxe. Before reaching the underworld, I got myself a bunch of obsidian, and then I came all the way back, bought myself an obsidian skin potion, and then went to town on mining all the hellstone I possibly could in hopes of making a weapon out of hellstone. Yeah, in hindsight, I didn't know this was going to backfire as much as it did. Anyways, I gathered myself thousands of hellstone because, you know, like 400 is not enough, and I came back to spawn. This is where I checked the crafting recipe and wanted to craft myself the molten knives. Now see, to craft these molten knives, which are a pre-hard mode knife, I needed living fire blocks. Now, if you are a Terraria wizard like me, you'll come to find that living fire blocks actually drop from hard mode underworld enemies. So I got scammed. Anyways, I decided, hey, I'm probably just gonna craft a full set of melee armor because there is no knife armor. So it's probably my best bet. Like, why not get the most defense possible, right? If I'm not even gonna get a damage boost on my knives. So that's exactly what I did. After this, I quickly ran over to Skeletron's dungeon as it was going to turn daytime very, very soon, and I summoned in and started fighting Skeletron. This guy went out stupidly easy, and I actually managed to see, and if you watch closely on the screen, all those little red things that come into me, pause, that sounded a little bit weird, are actually me, healing from the knives. So look, as we're upgrading our knives, we ended up getting more and more healing. Anyways, we defeated Skeletron, and I got our very first pretty decent accessory, which was the extra finger, and essentially all that did is shot out an extra knife. This doesn't sound like much, but when you have very powerful weapons later within the game, this completely changes it all. I went into Skeletron's dungeon, and I was on the lookout for water candles and a very special knife, which I don't know what it's called, but it's like the Muramasa version of the knives. I got myself all the water candles I needed, opened up like my second locked chest, and managed to get the knives, which was pretty epic. What I came to also realize is that these Muramasa knives were absolutely incredible. They shot out very, very quickly, and they dealt tons and tons of damage. After this, I checked the full recipe of the Knight's Edge knives, and essentially, you know, it's just like the Knight's Edge. I think we've all crafted the Knight's Edge at this point if you are a, you know, normal Terraria player, but it required all the 4 various different knives, with one exception being that instead of using the Crimson knife, I needed the Demonite knives, which was kind of silly, but you know, there's no Crimson crafting variant. Shame on you, developer. Anyways, I went down to the underworld, made a massive arena for the Wall of Flesh. Look guys, I don't even have full HP and I'm already squaring up to the Wall of Flesh. I don't know what Boyo's up to, but he is up to no good. Upon making the arena, I finally got myself a guide voodoo doll after farming out literally who knows how long. I was literally down there in the underworld with 10x spawn rates waiting for one voodoo demon to spawn for like 10 minutes. It was absurd. Anyways, I did get it though. And the Wall of Flesh boss fight, let me tell you, it is the most underwhelming thing I've ever seen in my life. Got the guide voodoo doll, chucked it into the lava, and using the Forgotten Blades, which was the Muramasa version of the knives, I started spamming all of the little hungries. And as soon as those went down, once I started hitting the eyes of the Wall of Flesh, just look on screen how quickly I killed it, bro. It was just stupid. I honestly didn't even know what was going on. I remember playing playing this and the health bar went down so quickly that I did not even notice that I killed it. So just for reference, the Wall of Flesh was very easy with this class. Anyways, we got an emblem for the knife class, which was pretty neat. And as soon as I came back to spawn, there was actually a brand new item called the Altar Exterminator, which you needed a pawn hammer as a crafting recipe, and you would essentially consume it once and it would break every single altar in the game. So then you don't have to go and break all the altars, which was pretty neat. So I used this and then got attacked by every single wraith in a like 1,000 meter diameter. While traveling over to the left side of the world, I found myself a meteor. So of course, me having complete ADHD, I mined it up because no ores can go unmined in my world. And then after that, I made my way over to the jungle. I mined some cobalt, and along with this, I was also trying to get myself some stingers because I wanted to craft myself the Blade of Grass version of the knives. So then in turn, I can craft the Knight's Edge version of the knives, which I thought was going to be very good. I did this process multiple times because I kept on dying non-stop, and then after that was done, I went down to the underworld, mined some orichalcum, died a couple of times while trying to fall down my elevator, and while in the underworld, I started farming out mobs so I can get myself the living fire blocks. Once I got enough, I came all the way back to the surface, crafted myself adamantite knives, got myself the summon for the destroyer. I just literally found it on the ground. Apparently I killed some mob and it dropped it, so that was pretty nice. I went mining for more adamantite, and then I went over to the Skylands to find myself wyverns. I still don't know how it's pronounced. Is it wyvern or wyvern? Everyone says this wyvern. Just stop. Can you guys just accept the fact that I'm always gonna say wyvern? But yeah, once a bunch of these wyverns spawned, we killed the wyverns and we got ourselves a bunch of souls of flight. I crafted myself harpy wings and also got myself harpy knives, which are very stupidly overpowered. I don't know if these are pre-hard mode, but they're probably better than the adamantite knives. I'm not even joking. At this point, I crafted myself the fire knives and also had all the resources to craft myself the Blade of Grass version of knives. I combined all of these 4 knives together and made myself the Quick Penumbra, which was like the Knight's Edge version of the knives. I then summoned in the destroyer because it was nighttime, of course, without buffing whatsoever because I am a big baller, big G, and I started spamming these knives in the destroyer. Honestly, it wasn't too difficult. We were losing a lot of health very, very quickly, but the health regen was actually quite OP, and we kept on getting healed as soon as we took any damage. So the boss fight was practically free. Right after this, since we still had more time, I decided to go fight the twins, and for this boss fight, the Penumbra knives did not have any reach whatsoever, so I had to use the harpy knives for almost half the boss fight, and as I was firing down, or when the twins were close to me, I could use the Penumbra knives, but once again, since the reach is quite terrible, I had to like strategize and use one knife for one eye, and then one knife for the other eye. It was just a whole mess. But anyways, we took out the green puking guy first, and then once the green pukey guy left, I took out his little brother, only leaving us with Skeletron Prime to fight before we get onto Plantera. As soon as I defeated the twins, I went over to my workbench and realized that you can craft the Excalibur version of the knives. The set of knives actually dealt the most damage out of any knife I think that we had so far. So of course I crafted it. Then I went over to the dungeon so I can get myself more bones, so then we can craft the summon for Skeletron Prime with a B. But now we are in a bit of a situation because I need to fight Skeletron Prime, but it's not nighttime. So can you guess what Boio does? I want to say I did something interesting, but for the most part I was just running around the world checking my crafting recipes like a lunatic because I was just bored, nothing to do. But look, now it's nighttime. What are we talking about? Skeletron Prime, of course. I summoned him in, buffed up, because I thought, this is gonna be a little bit hard. It wasn't really that hard. The Excalibur knives absolutely shredded through Skeletron, and we managed to take him out in no time whatsoever. Once again, there were some moments where we're taking a lot of damage, but the regen process is so OP. Like, we're healing 40 HP on a single hit, making us practically invincible. I mean, if I stood in one spot, of course I'd die, but still, the healing is very, very powerful. We took out Skeletron Prime, and I managed to get a brand new accessory for our little vampiric class, which were the mechanical fingers, and essentially it was just the upgraded version of the other Skeletron's fingers. I decided to remove a useless accessory such as the shackle and put the mechanical fingers in place of that. So now we have 3 extra knives that fire every single time we use up one of the knives. And standard practice, Skeletron Prime has been defeated, the jungle grows restless, you guys know this, you've probably seen this a million times whatsoever. Yeah, do the subscribe thing. I crafted myself the pickaxe axe and hoping that I could craft myself the true Excalibur version, because normal Terraria, to craft the true Excalibur, all you need is all the mechanical souls and the Excalibur, but apparently it doesn't work this way. And we actually need to go and do the solar eclipse for this. So, we have to wait till post Plantera, which is kind of a tragedy. Anyways, I went down into the jungle, and I got myself a bunch of chlorophyte, standard practice of a Terrarian, the average Terrarian day. I was hoping to find Plantera's bulb during this time as well, so then you know, I wouldn't have to go through the hassle of waiting for it to spawn or crafting the spawner for it, because that takes even longer. But to no one's surprise, nothing spawned whatsoever, just typical Plantera foolishry behavior. By the way, just curious, in the comments, drop down below, what is the longest you have ever waited for a Plantera bulb to spawn? Because I know I've had tragic days where I've had to wait like 10 days for a bulb to spawn, or until I can find one. But that's besides the point. I came all the way back to spawn, made myself the chlorophyte knives, which, see, I thought they were going to be homing, but they are not, and they only do 16 damage. What is the point of them? I do not know. Ask the developer, not me. By this point, I realized the bulb is not gonna spawn, so I had to go and craft the summon for it, and this required 5 blink root, 5 moonglow, and some chlorophyte. So I went on the hunt for moonglow. So I went on the hunt for blink root first in the underground caverns. Once I got that, I came back to the jungle, got myself all the moonglow, came back to spawn, crafted myself the summon, and then I dug out an arena for Plantera within the jungle. As soon as the arena in the jungle was done, I started beating up Plantera viciously. I am an anti-vegan, destroying Plantera with the Arthur's Kaladovluch, the Excalibur knives. I'm just gonna say the Excalibur knives. This was super easy. We dealt a lot of damage to the plant, running around it. You know, we kind of made fun of Plantera, not to be rude or anything, but right after this, I went straight into Golem's temple because I needed the tablets to summon in the solar eclipse. So I scoured Golem's temple, found myself all the tablets. Surprisingly, Golem's temple was very massive, even though I'm playing on a small world, so that was kind of suspicious. But upon coming back to spawn, I waited for it to turn to nighttime and then realized that the solar eclipse only happens in daytime. Me being a 100 IQ player, I cooled my anger and then decided to wait for it to turn to day. Literally this whole time while waiting for it to turn to day, I was just on some silly business, like I didn't really have anything interesting to do. I managed to find in my inventory the Blooming Terror, which was apparently a set of knives dropped from Plantera that were very good, and I did not even notice that they dropped in my inventory. Along with this, I also farmed out a bunch of crimson enemies until I got the crimson key, and I got myself the vampire knives, meaning that we can now craft the ultimate crafting station that we're gonna craft later, because I do not want to craft it right now. I also fought Queen Slime because when I went mining, I managed to find myself her little summon, and then once that was done, it was officially daytime. I activated the solar eclipse tablet and the sun went dark. A Mothron nearly spawned immediately, and upon killing it, I think they have a 100% drop chance for the broken hero knives, so I got myself one. Then I used the 10x spawn rate multiplier to get another Mothron to spawn in, which it did, unsurprisingly. I killed that one as well, and once again, we got the broken hero knives. Just in case you don't know, we need 2 broken hero knives, and if you can do math, we now have 2 broken hero knives. I went over to my knife welding, crafting, forging station and crafted myself the Terrablade version of the knives. At first, I thought they were garbage until they ended up hitting a block, and upon seeing all the knives fly out of the projectiles, I nearly pooped my pants, because only then I realized how good they actually were. Along with this, I also managed to get myself this cape thing, which you'll see me use later. Right now, I did not really know that it was as good as it was, but essentially it's like a set of wings that lets you turn into a bat, and you move incredibly fast horizontally. You don't get to fly for very long, but the horizontal speed is amazing, and I use this all the way to Moonlord and beyond. Anyways, at this point, I started trying to defeat the Brain of Cthulhu again because remember at the start of the video how I said we needed those charged crimson crystal things or whatever it was? Well, yeah, I needed those to craft myself the knife workbench thing. That's like the best version that requires the vampire knives, right? So I defeated the Brain of Cthulhu, got myself all of that. I turned the unstable crystal into 2 stable crystals, and then I crafted myself the vampire altar, which essentially lets us craft the more powerful knives that are post Plantera. And along with this, we can apparently right click the altar to upgrade our knives, but I don't think that feature was added yet, because honestly, I was right clicking it left and right. I was even left clicking it for your information, and nothing was happening. Anyways, once I stopped playing with the utterly disappointing knife station, I went over to Golem's dungeon, teleported straight to there, summoned him in, and brutally defeated him. And I mean, it was awful. The guy died in like 3 seconds, and then I teleported straight over to Skeletron's dungeon, thinking that the lunatic cultist was going to be there. Apparently, he only spawns in daytime, so I was sadly disappointed because he was not there whatsoever. At this point, I realized that my armor was completely whack, and I probably need to go upgrade my arm. But I still put that off for later, as it was daytime now, and I could summon in the lunatic cultist. I defeated all of his little helper worker drones, and then I started fighting. Along with this is where I tested out me turning into a bat, so you can see me do this bat gaming style boss fight. Yeah, it was overpowered. I mean, me turning into a bat was stupid. See, I think it'd be more balanced if you wouldn't be able to move as you turn into a bat or like shoot your weapons. But the fact that you can shoot your weapons and move around as a bat is very, very OP. Anyways, we managed to get the lunatic cultist down pretty low using our Terra blades and completely took him out using the Terra blades as well. This is where I started all these celestial pillars, and first I started taking out the Stardust pillar, to which I died to very, very quickly. Then I went to try and go take out the Vortex pillar, but I kept on dying over and over again. This is where I realized that my armor set was complete garbage, as I still had adamantite armor. But even though my armor was horrible, I took out the Vortex pillar, crafted myself the Vortex knives, which apparently summon life-stealing maggots that stick to enemies until they die, and Nebula knives, which spawn a nebula blaze upon hitting an enemy. For some reason, this would only go off like half the time, so it was very powerful at moments so at some moments it was very powerful, at other times it wasn't really that good. But that does mean that we took out the Vortex and Nebula pillars, and now I went to go to the jungle, try to get more turtle shells so I can craft myself turtle armor. See, I am still a bit of a Terraria noob, even though I have like 2,000 hours on the game, and I thought in order to get beetle armor, you need to get turtle armor first. I think that was like in the console versions of Terraria or in 1.3, but I'm just so used to playing 1.3, I thought that's just how life goes. So I completely, for no reason, spent like 30 minutes trying to get turtle shells. I came back to spawn, crafted myself turtle armor, only to realize that beetle armor only needed chlorophyte armor and beetle husks. So that's a smart IQ moment for you. I defeated Golem a bunch of times, you know, I did the standard procedure, got myself a bunch of beetle husks, crafted turtle armor, realized that, hey, you know, turtle armor has nothing to do with beetle armor. That made me very angry. And then I went mining for chlorophyte, because, well, I need more chlorophyte in order to craft myself beetle armor. But once my brain matured from the age of 2 to 25, I crafted myself full beetle armor, and then I went to go take out the rest of the pillars. I went to go take out the solar pillar, so then we crafted ourselves the solar knives, which just like exploded on impact and dealt tons of damage, leaving the very last pillar for last, which is the Stardust pillar. You know, I came over there slowly, turned up the spawn rates to 10 times, blasted through all the enemies, picked up all the shards once I defeated the pillar, came back to spawn quickly, and then crafted myself the Stardust knives. In combination with all 4 of the knives, we crafted ourselves the astronomical singularity, which just shot out all of the knives, and I mean all of them. So as a bat, I went, healed up before Moonlord, buffed up, and using my astronomical singularity knives, we took on the challenge of the Squid Man himself. Now this is where you're gonna notice how overpowered the bat is. See, Moonlord deals most of his damage from the main laser that he shoots, and typically the wings that you get at this stage of the game, if you're not getting like Fishron wings, you're not really able to fly over his laser as quickly and as efficiently as you really want to. But we were able to do that while turning into a bat and also killing him at the same time. We spammed the astronomical singularity, that is so hard to say, that feels like an entire rap song that I just said, to take out both of his hands. Then we took out his eyeball while flying around it all the freaking time, and then we took out his core. This was very, very, very easy. Moonlord is defeated, but that is not the end, as there are a couple of very cool knives that are supremely overpowered that are post Moonlord that I'm going to test on Moonlord very soon and show you. As Moonlord was defeated, he actually dropped the Celebration Mark II, as well as a brand new set of knives called the Hands of the Moonlord. So I put it into my inventory, and then the very first thing I did was I used the Celebration Mark II to craft myself a set of knives called the Frenzying Delta. As we right clicked, it let us go through 3 different various firing styles. We had bombing, fan mode, and target. Essentially, it acted like an explosion of Celebration Mark II mini nukes, and it dealt crazy amounts of damage. I'm gonna show you exactly what it's like me fighting the destroyer. So just like check this out, the destroyer goes down in like literally not even 2 seconds, but you know, I thought that wasn't really good enough of a test, so I summoned in Moonlord again and just like, look how fast we take out Moonlord using this set of knives. Then I also tried to use the Hand of the Moonlord and it wasn't as good, but yeah, the Frenzying Delta knives are absolutely overpowered. Like why would you ever need access to such a weapon of mass destruction? But that's the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Consider checking out another video like this on screen. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, if you want to see more content like this. This has been Boyo. Peace out.